are live! Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Too Sweet Converse. I am Nico.
I'm Wildcard.
JV.
Steve-O here. Thank you all for rejoining us here on the Too Sweet Cosplay YouTube channel for our second episode, and thank you all who have watched last week's episode. Last week we talked about COVID-19's effect on wrestling as well as the most recent WWE releases. Since then, we've seen the release of Cain Velasquez, who only had one match with Brock Lesnar. And then we saw the departure of longtime employee Gerald Briscoe. Did any of you want to share any quick thoughts before we dive into this week's topics?
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
First of all, to clarify, Gerald Briscoe, one of the original stooges for Mr. McMahon back in the Attitude Era, along with the great Pat Patterson, has been furloughed. He technically has not been released. He did come out with a statement saying he's been furloughed. So that could mean once we get back to whatever our new normal will be in the world because of this pandemic, that Gerald Briscoe could have his job back in the WWE. I fully expect him to be back. Honestly, the Cain Velasquez racing, that to me was pretty interesting. I mean, I know he wants to be in wrestling. WWE wanted to work with him. They did the match with Brock. Unfortunately, Cain got hurt. I actually liked the match they did in Saudi Arabia. I can't remember the name of the event. I think that one was Crown Jewel. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
But I actually thought the match with Brock that he did was good in the sense that it was a physical fight. It felt like it was a fight, and that's what, in my mind, professional wrestling should be to an extent. Unfortunately, he got hurt while training shortly after or during the match, or something happened there. I think maybe he'll be back once we kind of get back to our normal, whatever our new normal is in our country and in the state of pro wrestling. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
We really don't know what the new normal is going to be right now after all this is over. I mean, it's a tough time that we're living in right now. And, after all this is cleared up, which is we don't even know when. So, I mean, it could potentially change the way wrestling is viewed. So, I mean, that's really my thought on that. But I kind of feel like that, if it does clear up to a certain degree and there's some sort of normalcy that comes back, that a lot of employees that were furloughed or got released, eventually they may come back to WWE since the finances will be up and running.
EJB, any final thoughts?
Yeah, this is like you said, it's going to be hard to really predict when the new norm is really going to happen because we don't have a timetable for when this pandemic is going to slow down. They keep saying the peak is this week, the next week, the week after. We don't know. We don't know how long this virus is going to be around, but it might change the way we view wrestling. It may not. Like I said, it's all in the cards. It's all up in the air right now. We don't know what's going on, but if everything does change, we're just going to have to roll with the punches. But if everything goes back to normal and we're able to enjoy wrestling the way that we've had for 20, 30 plus years of our lives that we've been on this earth, then it'll be a great thing for the wrestling fans and for the wrestlers in general to bring back the revenue that has been missing from the companies and the performers themselves.
Very good. Yeah, that's essentially my thoughts. I wish both gentlemen well. I can't say, unfortunately, I'll be missing Cain Velasquez. I was not impressed with that Lesnar match, but there's plenty of time for one to improve in the ring, and for Briscoe, Gerald Briscoe, I'm glad that he is being furloughed rather than essentially laid off. So to those gentlemen, I wish them the best. So
yeah, if you ever do get a chance, to meet Gerald Briscoe, he's a super cool, old school, but so many good stories. I won't divulge into because I don't want to take up too much time on the topic. But just if you ever do get the chance to learn and just say not necessarily learn, but just to go up to Joe Briscoe and say hello, really one of the nicest guys ever, in my opinion, at least.
Very nice. So we're
Drank a
going to get
bit.
into our first topic of the evening, the 25th anniversary of Triple H, who he essentially had that segment on SmackDown. He's no stranger to anyone in the wrestling business. So did you guys watch the segment last Friday?
I've watched a
I
little bit of
I
it.
did. I did. I DVR'd it and then I watched it in its entirety because there was something I was watching with my on Friday night. Oh, I was watching the NFL draft. I chose the NFL draft live over over SmackDown, but I did DVR that segment in particular just to watch it back later. Um, I thought it was the best they could do in the situation. I mean, obviously, we're doing shows with no audience. So when you lose your audience, you lose that emotion. Um, and I know Triple H and Shawn are always money together, but to me, this just felt really weird. Like, it
I
really
agree.
felt like, hey,
Yeah.
wow, these guys are actually getting old. Like, you guys know me. Shawn
Yeah.
Michaels is probably one of my. Shawn Michaels is arguably my number one favorite professional wrestler of all time. So to see him in a beard with a beard that isn't groomed, by the way, on live TV and a baseball cap because he's bald headed now.
It's the
Super.
quarantine look. What can we
I
say?
I think
Yeah,
I was gonna say I think the drugs that Sean may have taken way back when have really caught up to him right now. So
I mean that, and then holy crap! I'm not even gonna talk about Triple H in this segment because honestly, like no offense, congratulations, Hunter or Paul on 25 years. God bless you. Thank you for what you're doing down in NXT. But I didn't really care about Triple H because Vince McMahon came out and he finally looked old. It finally looked as though Vince McMahon, the whatever you want to call him, honestly, probably the be all end all of pro wrestling. And what I mean by that is because of everything he's done for the industry, whether you love Vince or whether you hate him, he has taken this industry to new heights that no one is ever going to touch. But he finally looked old. I don't know whether it's just with the quarantine, with all the stress because of everything going on with the XFL and just everything, but it really looked like old age is finally catching up to old man Vinny. Like he didn't have that same type of pizzazz or like that Vince McMahon energy that even when he comes out and you're like, oh, I hate that guy. You know, what he's doing to my wrestling is really not that funny anymore. But then halfway through, you're usually cheering along with Vince because you're like, oh, wow, Vince is really good. But this time around, it just felt awkward. It felt like your old relative at like a reunion was just there and you're like, yeah, yeah, okay, okay, Theo, okay. But it just felt weird. Felt weird.
It was a really weird segment. I'm just gonna say that. I mean, yeah, I know that Vince was like kind of, ribbing Triple H. Shawn was too, of course. But like with Vince coming out and talking about the gobbledygooker and Bailey, this is your life. I'm like, why are you bringing
oh
this up?
my
Are you trying to
god.
compare this segment to being as bad as them, or are you saying like, at least for the Bailey segment, did Triple H have a part? I was confused. I'm like, why the hell are you talking about that? At least with
See,
The Katie Vick, Triple
yeah.
H was in it, and that's like a disgraceful segment.
Well, you
So
can't
it was just
Yeah,
inaugural.
you can't mention Triple H without Katie Vick to a certain degree. I'm sure we all remember that segment. If you guys don't know
Try
anything
not to.
about the whole Katie Vick segment, it's probably best that we don't really talk about it openly
yeah.
here because of how graphic it
Let's
is.
not.
So
Let's not.
I highly recommend that you look this up via YouTube or anything. Just type in Triple H, Katie Vick. You'll know what we're talking about. But let's just say that that's one of the most
I recommend you don't look it
cringeworthy
up. I recommend
takes. Yeah.
I recommend don't look it up. I
Well, the
mean, I was
followers,
11
the
at
Read
the
about
listeners
it
need
on
to know.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, or just read about it,
Yeah,
or if you're that
Yeah.
curious,
read
just
about it.
look it up.
Read about look it. Read about Katie Vick. Don't watch the segment on YouTube, please. I'm
It,
telling you
we
right
can't
now,
like I
11-year-old me
said,
still has.
like I said, it was just so cringeworthy at the time that it was just like I can't believe Hunter would actually go through with this. But then again, I mean, it's Triple H, so I mean he's
Yeah.
stooped to a
No,
lot
it's
of low
not just
things.
Triple H. It's because the old man convinced him to do it. Like,
Yeah, but he was the one who executed it.
oh
Yeah.
God, yeah, I mean,
Trust me, man. It's a segment I've tried to forget. I've tried to forget it more
Yeah.
than Braden Walker's debut in
Yeah.
WWE. Okay.
Yeah, like I
Take the page.
yeah like I
Look.
said this is just to all the listeners for the newer fans, it's best that we probably shouldn't talk about it in any detail because it's just very cringeworthy and a little too graphic. So yeah.
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 So, do you guys
yeah.
have anything else to talk about with like in relation to this segment? Me, I thought it was cool they did it, but I'm just kind of like I'd rather they just do the video stuff and then
I mean,
be
this is
done.
just my thought. This is just my thought on it. I mean, because I didn't watch the episode itself, but I just saw like clips of it, like on YouTube. I mean, they were just rehashing the old, the DX, their spiel and everything,
Yeah.
and obviously those two are fire together, as we all know.
Yep.
But I just kind of felt like they really have aged. I think Nico pointed it out that it's just like Shawn is. I mean, if you look at Shawn Michaels, he is not the same
No.
Shawn Michaels as he was before.
It was sad
age,
seeing him come back to the ring like
you know.
last year. He's one of my all-time favorites, but I'm like,
Oh yeah, no
this
doubt.
dude-
Yeah, I
But-
mean,
Yeah.
there's just no doubt
I
in my
mean,
mind that
I understand we're all in quarantine, but
Yeah.
geez, man, if we're gonna go out on camera, make your beard look decent. Come on.
Well, I mean, I don't know what the deal was with that, honestly. I mean, if maybe he just didn't care because there was no audience or something, or it's like, oh, we're just doing this at the performance center or whatever. But
Yeah.
it just felt very cringeworthy to a certain
Yeah.
extent. Maybe not as much, maybe not like too much, but I just kind of felt like it was just off, especially with Vince. Yeah, especially with what Vince. When Vince came out and just
Yeah, I
did
mean,
his thing.
yeah, I mean, he's bringing up and he's hitting Triple H with like innuendos and like inside jokes that only they know. Obviously, we don't. I mean, we know as the viewer, or at least the majority of us do, that they are father-in-law and son-in-law. Okay, cool, but that's one of those things where you kind of need an audience if you're gonna do stuff like that. You need a live crowd. When I mean audience, because some of the viewers that you're trying to appeal to at home, they don't know because WWE tries to appeal to the younger audience. They probably don't know that, oh, Vince McMahon and Triple H are family. So while he's saying these innuendos and these inside jokes, it was just like, really? Like, okay.
Yeah,
Why?
right.
So that's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
it was just weird. It was
Yeah.
weird.
No, it just felt very off for the most part.
I mean, I applaud them for just trying to go out there to do it to entertain us as fans, but it just felt weird and like I did not enjoy it at all.
Well, I mean, we have to also take into consideration that, with all this going on, especially with COVID-19 and, the elimination of all like big crowds and everything, they
Yeah.
basically have to like reinforce the show must go on spiel and just try to just go about their business whether you have a big audience or not. So they're basically just going out there just doing their thing. Nothing's going to change as if whether they have a big crowd or not. So I mean, that at least that's my assumption on what their thought process is going forward with each show that they do.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah. So since we discussed that in great detail, how about this? What are some of your favorite matches and like what is your thoughts of the game himself? And I'd like for EJB to start it off, and then we can kind of pass it around.
Cool. All right.
There's no doubt Triple H's influence on the business. I mean, and not only as an in-ring performer, which we know he's a, multi-time world champion. Guys won nearly every title in WWE. He's probably one of the best big match wrestlers out there, especially when it comes to big title matches like WrestleMania, like SummerSlam at the Big Four pay-per-views. You can look back to some of his greatest matches. The no holds barred match or the unsanctioned match with Shawn Michaels, the triple threat with Benoit and Michaels and himself at Mania. You can go back to some of his early matches. Even one of my personal favorites, him and The Rock in the ladder match for the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam '98.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
that was
one of my favorite Triple H matches and one of my favorite Rock matches. But the guy is undeniably a future singles wrestler Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about that. Just one of my favorite moments, probably with Triple H, would have to be, I would have to say either the moment where he dumped Stephanie live on TV, where he was just bashing her left and right, talking about how Plane could fit in there and all that, and it was just the little one-liners, and I thought it was just great. That or the DX reunion in 2006, I thought it was really, really great. That was with the Spirit Squad.
Definitely.
But definitely, there's no doubt, Triple H is the game. He's the King of Kings. He is everything that he says he is, and no doubt he's one of the best performers in WWE history, bar none.
Great. Wildcard, how about your thoughts on the game?
I was just thinking about this for a while, and Triple H was just he's arguably one of the best heels that I've seen in the Attitude Era. I mean, if you remember his stuff in the when he was coming up, getting out of his Hunter Hearst Helmsley gimmick and getting into DX, and then eventually evolving himself into a WWE champion at the time. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I really hated his guts. I think everybody did at the time for all the stuff that he did, trying to put himself over and, just trying to make him look, probably like the greatest wrestler in the world. But, in terms of matches, there's just a lot that I can think of. Just recently, even though he was on the losing end of it, I felt the one match that I remember was when he participated in the first ever Elimination Chamber Survivor Series 2002.
Yeah.
Even though Shawn Michaels came out of it the victor, I mean, it's the fact that it was just those two that were the final entrants in that match. That was pretty epic, and I was rewatching, and I thought that was just, even though he was on the losing end of it, he put on a good show. Other matches that come to mind, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Chris Benoit, WrestleMania 20. Especially with how the outcome of that match when we didn't even realize Chris Benoit was going to win the title, but there's a lot. Honestly, it's just so overwhelming that because he's put on such a career, who recognize that he is the King of Kings. He's the game, the cerebral assassin, all the above.
Nice. Nico, your thoughts?
Yeah, whether you like Triple H, whether you don't like him, whether you love him, whether you hate him, plain and simple, the one thing I will say about this man, because I will be completely honest with you, I was not that big a fan of his. In the Attitude Era, I thought the stuff he did was very comical and it was funny because I should not have known what him, Shawn Michaels, and the rest of DX were talking about because of how young I was, but I got it. And I thought it was funny just because when you're a little kid and you're hearing things you're not supposed to hear, what do? Or whatever. So I thought, okay, cool, this guy's funny. But then as I got older and I started watching more and more, and he was constantly on my TV screen as the top bad guy, of course, I kind of got tired of it because I wanted somebody else to be up there in that spot. But I will say this about Triple H. He said way back when, if you watch his documentary, you can go watch it on the WWE Network, or you can watch, if you have it on DVD, on every single DVD he has or whatever of him doing interviews, he has always said, "I'm not in this business to be the WWE champion, to be the best. You are in the wrong business." I respect him on that because everything he said he wanted to do in this industry, he has done. And yeah, people could say, "Oh, he backstabbed and he buried people with his diamond-crusted shovel, etc., etc." We've heard them all. We've heard them all. But the one thing I will say about this, at least he went up to you directly to your face and said, "Hey, I'm going to be the top guy." So he didn't really like backstab people. He legit told you straight to your face, "I'm going to be the guy." So on that alone, I respect him. What he's done with NXT. I mean, people can make the argument that, hey, it's arguably the best brand in wrestling right now. You could make the argument. Granted, I don't like the fact that it's on USA Network competing on Wednesday nights with AEW. That's just me. But everything Triple H has said he's going to do, he's done in the industry. And for that, you have to just clap for him and say, "All right, dude, cool." And in regards to my favorite Triple H match, it's unfortunate that this match will never get talked about and never get the recognition it so rightfully deserves. But it's the triple threat between him, Shawn Michaels, and Chris Benoit at WrestleMania 20, in my opinion.
I think it seems like we're all in agreement with that.
I was going to say, if you ever do get a chance, WWE will never recognize that match for obvious reasons in relation to Chris Benoit. I'm sure we will get into that on another episode in the future. But to our listeners, to our viewers, if you get a chance, go on the WWE Network, watch the main event, the final match of WrestleMania 20. Look it up on YouTube. Watch the full match. Don't watch a 5-minute highlight clip if you find it on YouTube or any streaming services. Watch the entire match and watch the promo and the build to the match. That'll show you the great storytelling and storyteller that Triple H is, in my opinion.
Yeah, Steve-O, what are your thoughts on Mr. Levesque?
So, yeah, I started watching him in the WWE when he came in, I believe, as 94, 95 as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the rich guy gimmick. I thought that was pretty hokey at the
It was
time,
95.
but it was entertaining. I was like, okay, I could see him future IC champ. He, did that squash match against the Ultimate Warriors. Warrior squashed him. But yeah, as soon as he became the world champion, I love DX first. Him and Shawn were a great pairing. I was getting tired later on, post DX, if you will. Him almost winning every matches or just squashing everybody. I was furious that he won a WrestleMania 16 or WrestleMania 2000 as. I was surprised he won. I thought that was going to be The Rock's moment.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, over time, though, I do appreciate the things he's done. I mean, for starters, he had that great match at WrestleMania 30 with Daniel Bryan. That has to be one of my favorite matches with Triple H. And
yes,
then also,
definitely.
He has put people over. He put Shelton Benjamin over in the mid-2000s. He
that was a
tried
great
to get
match,
Curtis Axel over, which I mean, he tried. I mean, Axel's a great wrestler.
No, he did not. That's a different topic for a different day. The
Okay.
Curtis Axel thing. No.
He did try, though.
No. If you go back, no, he did not. No, he did not. I'm gonna stop you right there. Go back and watch the promo before the match. He killed Curtis Axel right there in that promo. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And there's another guy he didn't put over who he should have in 2011, but I'm not going to talk about it because I'm over it.
Let's just save it for another time.
Yeah, we'll save that for
another save it for another episode.
Right.
But no, I mean overall, yeah, Triple H has done his fair share of berries. He's helped people over in NXT. Like Mystico was the first signing he had.
Yes.
Thinking a little outside of the box, and then he
Yeah.
also signed on Awesome Khan, and we've seen some great
Sin
talent
Bacha.
come out of NXT.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really
Yes.
appreciate his contributions
Can I-
through NXT and trying to
Yeah.
get some people over. But in short, I have my ups and downs with Triple H, but he's worked his ass off, and I appreciate his
Yeah.
ability to the business.
I
So
just want to.
Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Finish up, Steve.
I was just going to ask you guys one final question before we move on to the next topic and our final thoughts. But here's what I'm thinking. If Triple H didn't marry Stephanie McMahon, didn't get involved, do you guys think he would have went on to get the successes he has? It could be a short explanation, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Nico.
Sorry, Andy. Yes, because everyone in the business who he rubbed the right people the right way. Still, even though he married Stephanie, he still rubbed the right people the right way. And by the right people, I mean Shawn Michaels. I mean Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, and the Clique. Vince McMahon, he always had Vince's ear. You hear stories, people like The Rock. So if he was still able to get the right people behind him, which I think he would have, I think he would have gotten over. I don't think he would have done something as big and as global as NXT has become. Maybe he would have done something else, kind of like something similar to AEW. If you didn't marry into the family, maybe he goes out on his own at one time or another. But I think he still would have been a top guy. There's not a doubt in my mind. Love him or hate the guy. He still had the right people's ear, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's really what it comes down to, because he was part of the original Clique. And what kind of I was thinking about now that you mention it was the fact that he actually did pay his dues at the time when, if you guys remember, when Scott Hall, Kevin Nash decided to leave WWE at the time for WCW for more money. And they broke kayfabe in that famous incident in Madison Square Garden. He was the one from what I recall is the one who was the one, like, basically they used him as a jobber. So he was just like losing all of his matches at the time, and he was just basically on the receiving end of the punishment from that. So
yeah, wasn't he squashed by the Ultimate Warrior?
That's a good example there too. So I don't recall how long it lasted for, but I mean eventually.
So when Austin was going to win the King of the Ring.
It lasted about a full year. Because the curtain call happened.
A full
year.
The
curtain call happened in 96. Because the rumor is, and I don't know how true this is, but everybody from Vince on down has said the original plan was Triple H or Hunter Hearst Helmsley was going to win the 1996 King of the Ring.
Yeah.
It was 96, right?
Yeah.
He was going to win the King of the Ring. Did not, due to the curtain call incident. Austin won it. But then a year later, they still gave Triple H the King of the Ring in 97. So I think, honestly, it worked out for the better because he still got the title and the moniker of King of the Ring. But yet you got Austin, who got put over and who says, Austin 316 says, I just whooped your ass, and we all know how that took off.
Yeah.
So who knows?
So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it's just like he paid his dues. Like he basically they delayed his push just because that way he received some kind of punishment for the curtain call incident, and then eventually it just propelled him into who he is today. Now, granted, if he had not married Stephanie McMahon, I mean, I can't say for sure whether he'd be at the position that he is right now, but he would still be very successful for what he did in the ring and maybe even outside the ring, maybe not to the extent of where he is right now.
Going a bit off topic here, just because you brought up the curtain call, do you think it should have been a big deal the way it was turned into by, I guess, by the locker room and the back then, or no? Because honestly, I don't see the big deal because yeah, Kevin and Scott were going to WCW, but they were leaving regardless if they do the curtain call or not. So I don't.
Well, I will say that they will. I mean, yes, they were to leave either way, but it was really their call, their decision to do what they did in the ring. And they had the deciding factor. They, oh, okay, keep the illusion going here, not break it. But they decided to do that, and then eventually it just kind of evolved into some like a chain reaction, a domino. What
Yeah,
are your
domino.
thoughts on that?
I think that Triple H would have pretty much. I think he still would have made his way to the top. He still would have been champion. Like you said, he was in the ears of the right people. Plus, his work ethic was second to none. I mean, the guy
Absolutely
built himself from the ground up. He was trained the right way. He did the right workouts, nutrition, whatever the case may be, to get himself in shape. He paid his dues and he did the right things. Not only did he have the ears of Vince and Nash and Hall and Shawn, but he busted his ass to get where he needed to get. He didn't just do it by being the company's world-class suck-up. He did it through hard work and dedication, which is something that every wrestler should strive for. Yeah, he might have maybe buried a few people along the way, but in the end, Triple H doesn't become a Hall of Famer with any group, including DX, without having that type of work ethic.
Yeah. Steve, what do you got, man?
So, yeah, just to wrap up with Triple H, I think he may have had a few less world title reigns had he, not married Stephanie McMahon. But I do agree, essentially, he is a workhorse. He knew the right people, like everyone stated. May have had to do that punishment for a while, but in short, I think that he really did take off. And I think he would have very similar successes to what we have witnessed with him. Maybe he wouldn't have had a whole 25th anniversary show about him, but in short, I think
you can, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, honestly, props to the dude for taking the punishment the full year the way he did after.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could have done that. I don't know if I could have stuck it out and ate crow for that entire year like he did.
See, that's it right there. You just get that. That's the definition of paying your dues right there. And he certainly did during that time period.
Definitely. So let's get on to the next segment of the show. AEW is going to be going live weekly after their next batch of tape shows, like kind of going into, I believe it's May, is my understanding.
Yes, May 6th from what I've heard from different news reports.
Nice, yeah.
They're going to start doing a lot. They're going to start airing live, or they're just going to be the next set of tapings?
No, they're going back. From what I heard, it's going back to airing live shows on TNT.
Okay. So then because today's Wednesday, April 29th, as we're recording this.
So this will be the last episode of Dynamite.
Okay, because to my understanding, they still had episodes taped for at least a few more weeks leading into Double or Nothing.
Well, maybe that was just
are they okay? Are they just gonna do away with those and then just start going live again next week, or?
That is very interesting.
Yeah,
I think they did have some shows up to Double
because
or Nothing.
Because even though I am blocked by Uncle Dave Meltzer, and I'm very proud of that accomplishment. I did find out that AEW has enough content filmed to lead into Double or Nothing. But that's why I just want to make sure: is tonight's episode of Dynamite just going to be the last one that they aired that's taped, and then they're going to start going live again next week Wednesday, which will be May the 6th, or do we
I
know?
believe that was my understanding, but then again, that was a date that was announced, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. Back then, you gotta think, a couple weeks ago, we didn't even know really how many episodes were taped until Dave Meltzer's report came out. So, they could change, they could maybe redo the episodes live, maybe to give it if they want to redo some things. Maybe they'll mix it with live and taped footage. I have no idea, but I want to kind of get into AEW going live weekly, and I think personally it is a good idea in a sense, but of course that's risking the health of the talent and all that. You
Yeah.
don't want your talent
Yeah, right.
catching COVID-19, but in the end, if the talent are willing to come out there and willing to make that sacrifice, come out there and perform for us, I say go for it. Like you said, like even AEW said, Tony Khan has said in interviews that no talent has to show up. They're not going to get punished. They're
Yeah.
not going to get in trouble. They're not going to lose pay.
See, that's what I. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to say, Tony Khan has said that in interviews, and Cody Rhodes has said that in multiple interviews, that is not going to happen. So, you never know. We could have Nyla Rose return for this with live shows or the tapings or whatever. We could have, somebody like Luchasaurus return or whatever, or it's just maybe the same roster that's been on TV the past couple of weeks. Who knows? But I think it would be cool. I think it would be nice for them to go back to live tapings. But if it's going to risk the talent's health way too much, I say just keep taping them until it's safe enough for the talent to all the talent to come back to work.
See, that's what I really like about AEW is that they don't have those kind of restrictions that WWE has. It's like, oh, you got to put them into a match. Oh, we got to keep this show going and stuff. It's giving them the opportunity to, just at least, as opposed to, oh, we got to keep putting on shows over and over again, I mean, and a lot of them are, I mean, it's really the ball's in their court, and a lot of them are still going on with it because they want to keep the show going. And I mean, that's just you got to tip your cap off to Tony Khan and the rest of AEW for allowing the flexibility of all the performers out there to either risk themselves by keep wrestling matches or decide to maybe sit this one out for whatever reason. So I mean, applause to them, applause to Tony Khan. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say one more thing before we get to everybody else. I was gonna say, prime example, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho could sit at home and he could not show up at the tapes if he don't want to. I mean, look who he is. But in the end, he comes there, he goes there to the tapings, and he does almost 8 weeks worth of commentary with Tony Schiavone.
Yeah.
He doesn't even wrestle. He just goes there to commentary. It shows that despite whatever's going on, he still wants to put on a fun product for the fans. Chris could just sit at home. He could just sit at home and keep collecting the paycheck until the virus is over. But he's like, no, I still want to be out there. I still want to keep the fans entertained. And that's something everybody's doing Jericho for.
Yeah. Everybody's doing their part. I mean, I think Moxley at one point was working the camera. And when he was having a match, or when he was scheduled to have a match, he was the cameraman at the time. And then I think we talked about this last week about a lot of the AEW talent, being crowd, really being the audience.
Yeah,
I mean, that's adds a nice dynamic to it. Yeah, everybody, including talent, is doing their part to keep the show going. So, which I think is really cool.
Yes. And the big question is as far as if they do tapings or live shows, of course we've heard it's supposed to be at Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida, right next to TIAA Bank Field, home of the Jaguars. But also with the travel restrictions easing up in Georgia, if they want to, they can still keep doing tapings at QT Marshall's gym, which is where the previous set of tapings took place. So, I mean, that's up for interpretation. All right, Nico, you're up, buddy.
First of all, we have to commend the men and women, athletes and performers, talent, etc., who have wanted to continue to perform, whether it's for AEW or for WWE. But I'm going to stay on the topic of AEW here since that's what we're discussing right now. But regardless, you have to commend all the men and women that are doing this for our entertainment. in regards to AEW, I think what they've done so far is great. If they are able to ease the restriction more for more talent to possibly come to the tapings, that's awesome. But here's my train of thinking. Right now, everybody knows I'm a big Britt Baker fan, and she's been killing it the past month with her heel character, with the promos, her in-ring work. Nyla is their women's champion. Nyla hasn't wrestled in over a month. Obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic is the big reason why. Do you think AEW is going to try to strip her of the title or do something? Because they need to do something with their women's division right now. Yeah, you got Britt and you have Kirishita at the last set of tapings. They had a killer match 3 weeks ago now. But I feel like they got to do something to make me want to watch their product, so to speak, in regards to what's gonna happen now type of moment. You get what I'm saying here? Am I kind of
Yeah, yeah.
losing you guys?
Now
Yeah.
I think we kind of got that what you were getting at with that with everything that you're saying. Steve, what do you got, man?
All right. Yeah. So pretty much like, I mean, I do appreciate Tony Khan, kind of like, giving the talent the option. Okay, if you don't feel safe doing this, don't show up. Even to a degree, WWE's somewhat doing it. I mean, we kind of talked about it last week, but I know Roman Reigns won't be doing any shows until, a vaccine's out or conditions are safer. But in short, like, yeah, I do appreciate all the men and women for both WWE, AEW, and any performance. Like a lot of TV shows like American Idol are doing their own thing for like trying to work around this pandemic to put on TV. But yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think for safety reasons, it doesn't need to be live right now because one of the biggest things I hate about tape shows are spoilers come out, but it's not like there's a lot of fans or insiders in the shows. Like even a fake batch of spoilers got leaked for WrestleMania, and I think like 95% of those were incorrect. But yeah, I mean, it is truly up to the talents. Everyone has their own opinion on like whether we should all be working right now or not. If it was me, I would probably say let's just do one month of tapings for the week each month, just to kind of limit the scheduling. But it's the talent; they can decide how they want to pursue it and go from there. So that's pretty much my main thoughts on it.
Balls in their court. The ball's in their court, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
I would say, you guys want to move on to the news about Apollo Crews being out of Money in the Bank?
Let's talk about Apollo Crews.
We're gonna be brief on that though because Money in the Bank next weekend.
I'll start it off. I mean, that's a shame. I mean, it's just like he's probably one of the most talented guys on the roster, and here we are thinking that okay, he's got an opportunity to showcase what he can do in a pay-per-view match. Because I mean, when was the last time Apollo Crews was in a main card of a pay-per-view? So I mean, I don't recall that unless
he's sporadically
you have to go back.
Pre-show.
Exactly. I mean, the last time he was on a main card, from my recollection, is back during his NXT days. But it's just a shame. I don't know. I can't say for sure because I didn't see how he got injured. I just know he got injured in his match with Andrade this past Monday on Raw. So I don't know if it was legit or if it was just something else for him.
That's gonna be my question. Was it a legit injury? Because it was just. I'm not saying that it's a work. I'm not saying that it's a work, but the way it all went down, it was just like really quick. Like, he's doing this thing with Andrade. They have a great backstage segment. He nails the crap out of him with that slap. Like, holy shit. That was a novella slap.
I will say one thing.
If you watch a telenovela or a Mexican soap opera, you will know what that slap sounds like. That's literally how it sounded coming from Apollo Andrade.
I'll say one more thing just about that. I think that, in my opinion, if we had to choose if it was actually legit or if it was a work, I think it's a work because I think it may potentially lead to another United States title shot with Andrade in the future, and then maybe he can actually get a shot at becoming U.S. champion. So that's my thought on that. So.
Okay,
And
and
who do you
I'm
think? Did you guys say who was going to replace Andrade?
I wanted to mention that because I mean, Steve, you might not like this if you guys heard already, but and this is pointing at Steve because you hate the guy so much, but I think it was being reported that Jinder Mahal might be a potential replacement.
I did see that.
Yeah.
I saw some fake. I mean,
Yeah.
I double checked the Twitter. Like
somebody
did post a screenshot and it wasn't there.
Just for the record, guys, Steve-O really hates Jinder Mahal. So.
Yeah.
Why?
Pretty much.
Well, why?
Let's not get off off topic. Just to, I'll share that plenty of times in the future. Maybe if Jinder does for a fact get into the Money in the Bank match, I'll talk about it more. But I'm gonna just quickly.
Don't hinder the gender.
Okay, all right. Okay. Who's next?
So,
who's next on this?
I'm gonna share my thoughts on Apollo. I was happy he was getting pushed. Like I kind of expected MVP to put him over, like in last week once I heard those two were having a match. But it is a disappointment that Apollo won't be in it, whether it's a fake injury or real injury. I'm hoping for his sake it's a fake injury because I don't like to see people get hurt. But he was really on fire. I almost thought he was going to win the U.S. title last night. Like I didn't see him going all the way to Money in the Bank winning it, but I was happy he was going to be featured more. Sure. I've always been a fan of his. May not be the best mic talker, but I'd say if you could get someone like MVP to support him and be his manager, that would be great. Now, as far as I'm concerned on the replacement for Apollo Crews, I'm thinking it's most likely going to be Jinder Mahal. But I could see Andrade doing it. Although I think Andrade should defend the U.S. title at the pay-per-view instead. But that's a whole different story.
All right.
That's pretty much
fair enough there.
And as for our next segment, we announced last week we were going to do a showcased cosplayer for the week. And we're going to be glad to present our man, Andrew Terrell, a.k.a. Blitzkrieg Cosplay. Who would like to start off with the first bit of information about Blitzkrieg? Nico, would you like to read the first line?
I don't even have it in front of me right now. Jeez.
I mean, it's up to you guys. How do you guys want to handle this?
I'll do it. So we actually met him at C2E2. I believe it was a couple of years ago in person. When we actually had our fan booth set up.
Actually, just last year.
Was it last year? Yeah, just last year. Okay.
Was it last year for his booth at C2E2? I thought we met him before.
He's been showcased on our page, and I was talking to him prior. That was the first meeting.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That we just never met him in person, though. But we just met him through social media and whatnot. But anyway, I guess I'll get the ball rolling with him. So Andrew started cosplaying 2013. Well, his first convention was at Wizard World Columbus, Ohio in 2012.
Yep. Andrew started watching pro wrestling in about late 1998, around the Attitude Era Monday Night Wars. His favorite wrestlers include the phenomenal AJ Styles, Kane, Christian, Will Ospreay, Ken Shamrock, Switchblade, Jay White, Asuka, Becky Lynch, Braun Strowman, and of course Rey Mysterio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and about Andrew, some of his signature cosplays for wrestling, AJ Styles is one of them, and then there's Kuzco, Gambit of X-Men, Eric Draven, the Amazing Spider-Man, and of course he does a cool Ghostbusters cosplay.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, Eric Draven is the Crow, which is one of my favorite fictional characters from the comic regions. Also the movie Brandon Lee, the late great Brandon Lee. And I will say this about Andrew: he's a real good friend of ours, a good brother. He helped me out in a situation that I will forever be indebted to him last year. in getting me a Bret the Hitman Hart autograph. You guys know I'm a huge Bret the Hitman Hart fan, and that's probably my number one wrestler of all
Me
time.
too.
So the fact
Yes.
that Andrew was nice enough to look out for me and hook me up with an autograph at a signing is a thing I'll forever be indebted to. Truly, great guy, an amazing cosplayer. Look him up. Just talk wrestling with the dude. Another great cosplayer that he does.
So this is something I actually do keep in touch with Andrew via Instagram. But he actually we actually had a chance to pick his brain about what his philosophy is when it comes to cosplay. Being a cosplayer myself, as all of us are, we can all appreciate this. But this is a direct quote from him. He says that I believe that cosplay is about having fun and exploring oneself through creativity and imagination. I mean, how can you disagree with that? I mean, because essentially, that's really what cosplay really comes down to. It's just all about having fun. I mean, it's just being expressing your creative side. That's really what it comes down to.
Absolutely. And
yes,
just so you guys see, here are a few photos of Andrew as I display them.
for another cosplayer to be featured on next week's episode. So if any cosplayer out there, whether it be wrestling related or non-wrestling related, if interested in being featured on our podcast, please submit your cosplay to us at Too Sweet Cosplay's Facebook page.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
Another thing about Andrew, a good cosplay he does that I noticed he did a John Moxley a few weeks ago, right when, or maybe it was a couple months ago, or maybe it was towards the end of last year when Moxley started getting real hot again in wrestling. That Andrew did really good. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I think he did both. When he I think he also did it when he was still Dean Ambrose at the time, and he also did a Moxley one too. So
Also, if to our listeners who are wrestling fans, if you are a wrestling belt collector, Andrew is as well.
Okay. All right. I think we're going on to our final topic here, Steve.
Yep.
All right. So our final topic is celebrities in wrestling. So, as you guys may know, some of you sports fans, especially those in Chicago, Michael Jordan has a documentary series on ESPN, The Last Dance. It's been generating a lot of praise, and Nico and Andrew are watching that here. And you can't. Besides Michael Jordan and the Bulls, the guy we associate as part of the Bulls is Dennis Rodman, who was featured in the WCW as part of the NWO with Hollywood Hogan. So let's start it off. Go ahead, Wildcard, take it away.
Documentary, again, it's called The Last Dance. I highly recommend that if you guys are huge fans of the Chicago Bulls or watched the Chicago Bulls back in the 90s when they basically dominated the NBA. So I believe in the last episode, last couple of episodes they've had, they talked extensively about Dennis Rodman. And, like Steve-O mentioned, for all of you who do remember, Dennis Rodman was in WCW as part of the NWO, and he actually did wrestle a couple of matches too. Maybe not the best matches per se, but he actually played a big role, and just in that time, especially as part of the member of the NWO, and I think just for his character, he kind of fit in with those guys, and I thought he played a big role in wrestling in general. So that's really kind of my thoughts on there. All right, Nico, I'll let you take it away.
To clarify, this documentary that is out right now, if you are a sports fan, this documentary isn't just about Michael Jordan. This is about the Chicago Bulls franchise and the dynasty, because like Andrew said, or Wildcard Sorry, I'm breaking the fourth wall. This
Go on.
documentary is about the dynasty that was the Chicago Bulls of the 90s. And the recent episode that aired this past weekend was about the character and the human being in Dennis Rodman, who has a history in the wrestling business. While I was doing some research for this episode, since we were going to talk about this, I found out that his actual first wrestling appearance, besides working with WCW and the NWO in 1997, 1998, and 1999 respectively, was his first appearance was at Bash at the Beach in '95 as Hulk Hogan's corner match. I never knew that, and then I also found out that the WWF or WWE, as we know them now, had originally pitched an idea to bring Dennis Rodman in to work WrestleMania 13 in 1997, which would have been in Chicago. The idea would have been, this is all rumored, I'm trying to get this confirmed. I've asked people that I know, like I've emailed Jim Cornette, I asked him for his podcast, same with Bruce Pritchard. The idea would have been in 97 that Dennis would have came in and worked as Goldust's corner man, and we all know how exotic and eccentric Goldust was back then, and then possibly work a tag match with Goldust at SummerSlam in '97. However, WCW heard about the offer, and due to Rodman's relationship at the time with Hulk Hogan, he chose to go to WCW. He worked 3 events in WCW, Bash at the Beach 97 and 98, and Road Wild in 99. I forgot about the 99 match. It was a one-on-one match with the Macho Man Randy Savage. I thought it was pretty cool, but the reason I bring this up, and the reason why we wanted to bring this up for the show, is who are some of your favorite celebrities in wrestling? What do you guys think about the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame? I think to an extent it's great because at the end of the day, this is entertainment. Yes, this is pro wrestling. We love pro wrestling. We love the sports aspect of it. We love the athletes in the industry. But I love the Celebrity Wing Hall of Fame because the majority of the celebrities that have contributed have done phenomenal jobs. Whether you look at Dennis Rodman and what he did for the NWO, Muhammad Ali working WrestleMania 1, Mr. T, hell, even Drew Carey had a funny comedy spot. Pete Rose with Kane during the Attitude Era. Floyd Mayweather. I can keep going. Tyson, which is what helped probably shift the balance in the Monday Night Wars with Austin and Shawn Michaels and DX. So I know I'm rambling here, but it's just because I'm really passionate about this. What are some of your guys' favorite segments with that involve celebrities in the wrestling business?
For me personally, I'm a huge rock and roll fan. So anytime a rock and roll artist appears on WWE TV, it's a treat for me. So let's take it to one of my favorites, and that was the appearance of the one, the only Alice Cooper at WrestleMania, and him bringing Damien in to fight Macho Man Randy Savage. Well, I was pretty young to remember that moment, and all that. I did see it later on, and me being a rock and roll fan, I think it's one of the coolest moments I've seen in wrestling. Because I'm a huge Alice Cooper fan from start to finish, always been, and also it's just awesome to see him in the middle of a wrestling ring with the Snake of Jake the Snake Roberts, Damien, and to have him fight Macho Man Randy Savage in the arm. Little known fact, that snake was devenomed, but it wasn't defanged.
Really? I did not know that.
Wow.
Yeah, and then one other big moment was,
Nice.
I think it was about 10 years ago or so, Ozzy Osbourne appearing on Monday Night Raw. Little fun fact.
Nice.
Is that like American Idol?
Yeah.
Ozzy sounded drunk in that segment. Jeez.
Well, Ozzy. Here's a little fun fact, and then I'll let everybody else take
Ozzy
their
died.
turn. Is that Chris Jericho was with Ozzy backstage, and Santino had dressed up as him from the Diary of a Madman album cover with the torn, bloody shirt with the tassels and all that. And Ozzy goes to him and goes, "That guy looks exactly like me, man." Jericho goes, that's kind of the idea. Ozzy's dressed like you. He looks at Jericho, goes, far out, man. So there's a little. But yeah, those are like my two favorite moments in as far as celebrities appearing in pro wrestling. All right.
Yeah. Okay, I guess I'll take it to. There's three that really come to mind. I think I'm sure you guys remember when Arnold Schwarzenegger he made an appearance on back in like the early SmackDown.
99.
Yeah.
I think there was a there was.
Yeah, in 99, and he.
Where it was the segment at the end of the show where he like gave the most vicious backhand to Triple H and started beating the crap out of him.
It was a judo chop. It wasn't a
that was just like I was like, oh my god, that's just like, all right, Terminator.
He's really connected too.
Go
on those.
That was
if you go back and watch it,
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. You're breaking up.
Oh my god, it's the Terminator beating up on Triple H. So that's one of them. Another one, kind of a minor one between Big Show and Shaquille O'Neal on an episode of Monday Night Raw. I thought that was pretty epic. And you know, it's like celebrities getting involved with wrestling at times because sometimes it just doesn't feel, it just kind of feels a little bit awkward at times, which we've all, but I just felt like with Shaq and Big Show, I mean, considering how huge those guys are, I mean, that was just like, oh my god, like the crowd was hyped for that. So anyway, that's my second one. The last one, I'm sure we all can agree. Okay, wait, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Last one. I'll pass the baton to Steve after that. Stephen Amell is probably at the top of the list because he's one of those few actors who can act too. So as we all saw with his match with Christopher Daniels at All In, and I believe he wrestled a match in Ring of Honor, and of course he did his thing in WWE at the time too. So, but Stephen Amell's definitely, I mean, I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I mean, he's somebody that should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. So, but anyway, that's pretty much my spiel on that. So.
Okay.
Hey, how about me? Go ahead, Steve. On my bad.
It's okay. So I'm just gonna go over like some quick thoughts on my favorites as well as the Celebrity Hall of Fame induction, like the wing in the WWE Hall of Fame. Overall, I'm okay with it being in the Hall of Fame, but I mean with Drew Carey, like he was like only a one-time appearance at the Royal Rumble. I'm not really a fan of things like that. I'm like a bigger fan of recurring appearances or more memorable, like. I'll just quickly say, like, Pete Rose, I mean, you say whatever you want about your thoughts on that guy, but at least he made 3 consecutive appearances getting tombstoned by Kane. That was really funny stuff. I don't know if I would say he's my favorite, but I do think he's worthy just for that, having a recurring segment. And then, but I'll get to my favorite, Mike Tyson helping Stone Cold Steve Austin, like, his first world title reign. That was extremely memorable at WrestleMania 14. He kind of made us
knocking out John in the process too. So
yeah, it was just epic. It was just like really. I think it helped Surefire.
Yeah.
Stone Cold as a big name, and then also I really liked. I liked Shaq a lot. I thought he was a great celebrity to be. He's appeared in WCW as well. He had that feud with the Big Show that almost went into a WrestleMania match, but circumstances prevented that from happening. And then that's about it. I mean, I do like Mr. T's involvement in the early days as well as Cyndi Lauper and all them.
I do have one more name before we end this segment and close out the show. Is a man who's been part of WWE family for years, and that's the great Lemmy from Motorhead. You can't forget about his huge contributions to Triple H's theme song, making appearances at WrestleMania, performing him to the ring. You know, Lemmy.
Dude, the live performances are awesome.
To me, there's nobody who's deserving of a celebrity induction right now. Maybe outside of P-Rose got his bid, but nobody's more deserving to me than Lemmy.
Absolutely, he definitely
absolutely
deserves time in the sun.
I will say this about this. Go ahead.
Okay, just Bob Barker. I really liked his appearance on Raw with The Price is Raw. Absolutely hilarious. And that Happy Gilmore
that was a good one. That was a good one. I like that.
The Happy Gilmore scene with Chavo Guerrero, like where he just knocks him out and gets in a fight. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
To kind of close this segment out, the thing that I love about a majority of celebrities that they've brought in, they're wrestling fans to begin with. You look at Dennis Rodman, not even in the Boys documentary, but they have it on the WWE Network, where they talk about the whole thing with Dennis Rodman and Hulk Hogan versus DDP and Karl Malone in '98. They were both Dennis and Karl were both huge wrestling fans. Dennis being from the Texas area, Dallas, he's like, all we did was watch the Dallas Cowboys and the Von Erichs. You look at someone like Andy, you mentioned Stephen Amell earlier. Stephen Amell's a huge wrestling fan. You saw how he interacted with us at C2E2 when I brought out my wrestling mask, and he thought it was the coolest thing ever. How about Mickey Rourke at WrestleMania 25 when Jericho was, working an angle with the Legends, and Mickey Rourke got in there and actually threw a good work punch because of the movie The Wrestler and knocked Jericho on his ass. So
man,
the thing that I like about
Jericho's
the celebrities,
getting knocked out by everything.
yeah, the thing I like about the celebrities is the ones that care and that are fans to begin with. Yeah, there's a demographic of wrestling fans. I shouldn't say demographic. I should say a percentage of wrestling fans that don't like celebrities, that don't like the fact that there's a celebrity wing in the WWE Hall of Fame. But when you have those that actually care and that are fans to begin with, because at the end of the day, this is about entertaining the fans. This is about entertaining the audience. If you're going to bring in somebody who cares about the business and who's a fan to begin with, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
I really agree with that.
Yeah, definitely agree. All right, you guys, what a great show we just had. Thank you to everybody who is watching this right now. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed or liked any of our pages. And speaking of that, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Too Sweet Cosplay on YouTube, as well as don't forget, if you guys need if you want your cosplay submissions to be featured for our Cosplayer of the Week, send them to the Too Sweet Cosplay Facebook page, and we'll pick one winner out of that for next week. And also,
don't forget to follow us at Too Sweet Cosplay on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Exactly. All right, guys.
And be sure to subscribe to us on this YouTube channel. If you enjoyed the video, please like it as well and tell a friend.
Yeah. Hey,
you guys haven't been annoyed by us already, so.
Hey, did we keep this under an hour?
It was just maybe a couple minutes over, but guess what?
We'll edit. We
it
can
was a
edit.
hell of a conversation, guys.
Hell yeah.
This is fun as always. Thank you guys from everybody here. We thank you guys once again, and may your week be nothing short of too sweet. Thank you guys once again. We'll see you next week.
Guys.
All right. See you guys.